There's been a lot of thought given by us and others to something to increase insulation potential to help the homeowner with his insulation storm window problems. While we have, of course, some problem with financing ourselves, we think there may well be some ways of helping the consumer finance home improvements that give him more insulation and that sort of thing, while making it something that he can afford and pay. We're willing to look at it. We are studying some plans that have been suggested by other utilities in other states, and we'll make that benefit of our studies available to him. The second part of his proposal, relating to how you would enforce the upgrading of insulation, is a little harder to deal with, but we are taking some looks at that also to see what experience others have had.
What have you been looking at as far as encouragement or discouragement?
Well, for example, on the paying for insulation, we've looked at ways that perhaps the consumer could have an upgrading, we'll say spending $1,000 on his house, then have that handled by our entering into a contract with him, collecting from him through his bill, and us selling the commercial paper, so to speak, to a financing institution. And that way it wouldn't burden our capital and would let him, in effect, make a loan that he could pay back monthly. Other utilities have worked with this, and we're looking at their experience and looking at some plans that have been suggested by the Federal Energy Administration and looking at the experience of others.
I feel good in view of the fact that they are moving for additional housing assistance program in terms of extending the community development legislation, as well as programs for sewage treatment, programs for public works, programs for cedar and manpower. So it looks like the administration is going to concentrate much of its resources and its monies on the problems facing the American cities, and we're glad about that.
Did you have a chance to talk with President Carter or members of his administration about the problems of small cities such as Tuskegee?
Most specifically, we had an opportunity to meet in the office of Hamilton Jordan, who is one of the key officials in the Carter administration. Basically, we tried to express to them that local cities, small cities in particular in the South, needed money. We are already taxing our citizens as much as they can stand, and we need additional resources from the municipal, from the federal level to support municipal government, and I think that they're going to be responsive.
You mentioned earlier that a resolution was passed in support of Jim Robinson. Could you tell us about that?
I think that all of us were very dismayed and hurt when we lost one of our colleagues, Jim Robinson, the mayor of Montgomery, former mayor, who resigned. Mayors from Alabama unanimously adopted a resolution expressing our dismay, as well sending a message of support and confidence that we have in Jim Robinson as a fine Christian man. And I think that that's an indication of how we all feel about the situation.
Who led this idea of a resolution?
It was prompted by many members of the organization and, of course, chaired by our chairman of the Alabama League of Municipalities. I think it's a general consensus of mayors throughout the state. I think we all feel the same way.
Honorary Billy making the report to the...
As I said before, Mrs. Caswell and I did vote against spending any money to defend the policemen earlier, and I'm not going to vote to spend one nickel now. I'm against, and I think the city of Montgomery is wrong.
Do you think the city of Montgomery should go ahead and settle out of court?
Surely the city of Montgomery ought to try to go and settle out of court. I'm not persuaded at all because some lawyers write a letter to the city council and say, look, let us keep battling. Well, the lawyer's going to get money, but you know who's paying it? The taxpayers of Montgomery are paying it. And I think the city of Montgomery ought to try to resolve this matter. And the lawyer suggested that we be quiet and not say anything. Too many things have been kept quiet already, so I'm going to say something. I'm saying that the city of Montgomery ought to save taxpayers money by trying to resolve this particular case at its earliest possible date.
Well, Mr. Reed had asked the administration of the city of Montgomery to prepare a legal opinion for the council to peruse in the Whitehurst civil suit. We had our attorneys, Mr. Bobby Black and Mr. William Hill, II, to prepare such a letter. It is their opinion that the city is not liable in this civil suit, that we have it won in the court at this level. It is on appeal to the Fifth Circuit, and Mr. Black states in his letter that he does not think there's a reversible error in it. and that the city of Montgomery presently is not a party in the suit, and therefore it would be folly to settle at this time, and I certainly support that position. I do not intend to recommend going against legal counsel and spending the taxpayers' money on this matter. Thank you.
If they had taken the trouble to find out the truth, they would have found that I made no attempt whatsoever to persuade the convict who made the accusations against Mr. Martin to do anything but tell the truth. My interview with him on January 1, 1977 was a part of my official duty. I asked the convict to take a polygraph test, which he agreed to do. On January 3, 1977, however, he changed his mind and refused, saying he would have an affidavit prepared by his attorney. I had nothing to do with the preparation of the affidavit of which Mr. Martin complains, nor was I present. This affidavit was prepared and notarized by the convict's attorney's secretary. About January 21, 1977, I was informed that T.L. Payne, an investigator for the district attorney, had gotten the affidavit and that the affidavit had been withheld from the January grand jury. This is what prompted me to write to the members of the grand jury and send them copies of the affidavit, a copy of which I had secured. As for me, no one to my knowledge has accused me of any wrongdoing in the Whitehurst affair. My conscience and my actions are clean. I have a tape recording of my interview with the convict. If Mr. Martin wishes, I will publicly play the part which refers to him so that all may judge what the convict said and whether or not he was coerced into saying it. Without the radio and television stations in the Montgomery area, this statement would not be published. I am grateful to these media for telling the public what is really happening.
Would you play the recording for us?
No, we won't play it unless Mr. Martin wants it to be played.
Can we get a statement from Sergeant Bodine?
No, he's asked me to speak for him because of the fact that he is a merit system employee.
If there happened to be any legal action, what would it be?
This is the second attack that the advertiser has made on Mr. Bodine in its front and editorial pages. One possible cause of action is an invasion of his right of privacy, and that's as far as our research has gone at the moment.
Could you specify why invasion of privacy?
I'd rather not do that at this time because I'm really not fully prepared from legal research to be more specific than that.
And so without further ado, let's get on with it.
All right, sir. Our first little order of business this morning is retirement.
Well, this is a sad part of the occasion. We hate to lose good folks, but times come.
I think. Mayor, General Gillum.
Congratulations, good luck. Well, we got to go through the whole ceremony. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you so much.
From detective to sergeant, Charles M. Allen. Sergeant Joel R. Barfoot.
It's just like softball, really, but the ball becoming a little faster, and it's a lot of fun, really.
I haven't had a chance to play yet. They plan to put you in pretty soon, though, I hear. Will you be nervous when you go in?
No, not really, because it's just like playing with the guys out here, and I hope to be playing Tuesday when we play Tennessee State.
You're not. This is not part of any women's lib type deal. You're not strong on that, or are you? Are you a strong women's libber?
No, I just like the game, and here at State they don't have a women's softball team. So since I enjoy playing baseball or softball, whatever you want to call it, I decided to come out for the team. So when he asked me, did I want to play, I told him yeah. So he told me to come on out. So I made the team. I was glad.
It came out to show that she could play. That means it upset me a little.
Well, how about her ability? Is she a pretty good player?
She has a good defensive ability, but she's a little bit weak on offense. She pick up the ball, throws well, she run well, but she just ain't got much power to play.
You plan to play her much this season?
Well, I intend to play her just like with another freshman. I just, not the sex, it's just a matter of somebody getting the job done.
You've been helping Sherry quite a bit, haven't you?
Right. I inspired her. At least I told her the guys probably accept her like another guy, so don't get embarrassed by what they say or what they might say out here. She might hear some bad language or whatever. I told her don't get upset about it. Don't think they are just, disregarding her just because she's a girl. We're going to treat her equal.
Has she been accepted pretty well out here?
Yes, so far she has. We all accept her as another player.
Sherry's considered a walk-on this year, but next year she'll be eligible for one of 18 scholarships awarded to baseball players. And according to Coach Wheeler, if she keeps playing with the same amount of desire, she'll receive one of those scholarships. Lee Webb, WSFA TV Sports.
Well, of course, consumer rates rise slowly than do prime rates as far as businesses are concerned, and I don't think that within the near future consumer rates will change significantly. Now, if the prime rate continues to go down for a few years, then of course consumer rates will decline. But it's been projected by some economists that the prime interest rate will go up to, say, 8% by the end of this year. And so I don't look to see that consumer rates will decline, but I do not think that they will go up this year either, because they do follow slowly the prime rate as far as business is concerned. So I don't see any change really in the near future as far as consumer rates are concerned.
Are people borrowing now?
Certainly they are, particular consumers. Our demand this year for loans basically throughout the industry has been very good.
Sergeant George Ledbetter will be assigned to uniform patrol. MS Buckley 7, Captain C.P. Barfoot 8, Captain C.J. Magalette 9. Availability of beat funds for educated Assistant Division Commander Uniform. Captain W.L. Hudson assigned in charge of patrol section, uniform. Lieutenant A.J. Jim L.G. Rucker remain in Tech Division. Sergeant C.M. Allen remain in
It could take possibly months, maybe even several years before the Quintan plan is put into full operation. And before that, there may be another team of police experts to examine other things that may be corrected here in the Montgomery Police Department. This is Norman Lumpkin, WSFA TV News at Montgomery Police Headquarters.
Well, you saw down there where you took the pictures of that little flower road. keep it going, Annette.
Years to compile. What was the committee attempting to do?
Well, the basic purpose of the committee's work in the subsequent report was to present to the State Board of Education a document which would provide visible assurance that young people in our state going into teacher education are literate, they can communicate, and they're capable of mastering subject matter and have abstract thinking skills to everybody's satisfaction.
What criteria are you considering?
Well, we want to make sure that the youngsters graduate at least in the upper half of their high school class, that they manage 2 years of general education in an acceptable fashion, and then are considered for admission to the professional training itself. And that will be a big step forward.
Well, the report's not dramatic enough to eliminate teachers, vast exodus in the teaching ranks, will it? Will it affect
it could eliminate a fair percentage, yes. But it doesn't necessarily have to.
The names today, we didn't have before you leave. Public now doesn't matter. Naturally, we still serve the entire Tonkin County, not just one small community. This is over $5,000. These are standards for certification by the State Department of Education, and in no wise are we trying to tell the educational institutions what they must teach, but we're making some recommendations as to certification. And of course, they are broken down into 3 areas, the first one being the entrance requirements. I think here the hardest thing that we've had to reconcile is setting a minimum ACT score, which we did, of 16.
The more effective use of the English language as determined by a test for teachers to use in the classroom. We think this is highly important because many teachers today do not have the ability to communicate as effectively as they should with their students.
Possibly so, but George, I'd point out 2 things. We are beginning, and the taxpayers are doing a fine job in providing the funds.
Forecasters say the Coosa River is expected to rise at a good rate for the next few days. But despite the rapid flow over Jordan Dam, no high water of any consequence is expected on the Coosa. The same is true for the Tallapoosa River, with Martin Dam holding back the water there. The level here at Lake Jordan is up 0.2 of a foot and is now only 0.2 below full pool. But at Lake Martin, there's still almost 7 feet to go before full pool stage is reached. The Tombigbee River is currently the problem area. Lowland flooding is continuing along the Tombigbee. At Demopolis, a crest of 12 feet above flood stage is expected by next Friday. The Cahaba River at Centerville has already crested, less than a foot above flood stage. The forecast for the Cahaba at Centerville is a slow fall at river level. The Alabama River will crest at Montgomery tomorrow, 2 feet below actual flood stage. However, some lowland flooding can be expected along the Alabama River early this week. At Selma, a crest of approximately 7 feet below flood stage is expected Monday afternoon. Lake and river level estimates are based on rain already on the ground. New rain could change the forecasts upward. At Lake Jordan, Dick Burr, WSFA TV News.
I thought the point right before the half, really, when we were able to go on and get the lead out to 6, gave us a good push coming in, and we kind of rocked along early in the second half. But then when we got our running game going and we played tough defense for 40 minutes, which I think was the key to the game. The other key was our board work. We've been trying to at least neutralize people on the boards, and we took the attitude tonight, by golly, we were going against a real tough rebounding team. We were going to try to dominate them on the boards, and I think we did. I think that's a key factor.
A lot of people have said, what kind of ball player is Donald Bowerman? I think they really saw it tonight. He doesn't look like he has that much physical ability, but he gets out there and really gets the job done.
Well, Donald has made great progress for us. He's had an excellent career. You know, I've said this before, but he was on the verge of really being a fine basketball player a year or two ago, and he's had just nagging injuries throughout his career. This is the first year that Donald has been physically well, and he played very, very well tonight.
I discussed this with the Montgomery Airport Authority at one of the board meetings, and I told them I couldn't see where it hurt anything if we wrote a letter and told them we got 200 acres here that we could sure let them use. I wrote Frank a letter, Frank Borman, and told him that we had 200 acres here and that if they ever did decide to leave Miami, we'd sure like to get in on the bidding on it. Told him I thought that he would like Montgomery, he'd like the Alabama tax structure. I told him, I says, we may not have the most efficient location for your system, but we'd sure have the cheapest probably. Frank wrote me a letter back and says he thanked me for the letter, and that if they ever did make up their mind to move, that we would definitely be considered along with other possibilities. I think Atlanta would have the inside track from the most efficient area, since this is a big center for our Eastern's operations. But I think they would have a pretty hard time on the price. It's a possibility. I don't know. As I told the board, what have we got to lose?
Well, it will change the complexion of the campus somewhat, George. As you know, we are now a community college. We have no housing at all. But in our master plan, we formulated this plan some 7 years ago. We set aside space for housing. Now we feel that there's a definite need for this housing, and we have plans to move forward with it. The only problem that remains is how will we finance it. And we're going to make application this year to HUD for an interest subsidy grant. If we're successful there, then we'll move forward with it. If we're not, then we'll take a different route. But we hope to build dormitories for 200 to 250 students initially, and then if that's successful, then we'll add some more. But it appears to be, or at least it's obvious to us, that dorms are needed here. Students are moving back to the campus in a number of places, and dorms are full everywhere they have dorms, so we think it'll be a very successful venture, and it'll increase our service area tremendously, we think.
A special legislative request and approval and endorsement of the profession and the East Alabama area state as may be appropriate. Now therefore be it resolved. Well, this has been developed over a period of 18 months as a result of a study which was instituted by an advisory committee on health professions at Auburn. We today got clearance from the board to present it to the State Board of Nursing and the Alabama Commission on Higher Education for the study of the needs of nursing education in the state, to see whether a program at Auburn is justified, and then if this should prove to be the case, we would proceed to ask the legislature for funding, specifically an authorization of the program. The board today also, as a companion resolution, asked that a study on the needs of nursing education in Montgomery be conducted. We do not have a specific proposal for any program in Montgomery, but since this analysis will involve the needs of the state and the programs of the state, some of the members of the board felt that we ought to include both campuses of the university. Strongly recommended the establishment of a Bachelor of Science degree program in nursing education at Auburn University. From past experience, application.
I know he got.
Hey, good shot. Smoke! Six on the fence, man. He's safe. This nigga got the ball, man. Yeah. Hey! Come on down this way so we get you better.